At saka, ang ating voting center po is secured. Only the voting councilors are inside. Kahit po nung nakaraan, yan lang po. Hindi po pwede pumasok yung mga ibang staff. Meron po mga gwardiya. Ang in-charge po nun yung Committee on Security. Meron po mga gwardiya doon. Bago kayo pumasok sa function room, you are a registered participant of the convention and you are a voting delegate. Hindi po pwede pumasok yung iba doon.
Okay, Councilor Morales.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, Kuya Wilson, but I would have to object the observation or the belief of Kuya Wilson regarding that because I have already experienced that firsthand when we were part of the 2011 elections of the NMYL. I was there and I was one of the candidates. Everyone in the line already had their barcode papers even before they cast a vote, even before they went inside the polling precinct. Second point, there is no verification that whoever is holding a registration form from NMYL is a councilor or a board member or is really a part of the NMYL because anyone can just go there. Walang IDs, walang any requirements that were asked from them, but the registration. Apart from that, there is no marking on the registration that they have already voted. They were only holding the scanned barcodes. And then after that, dun po nung kami, we have members who are above 40 years old. Some of us, we have members who are honorary members who will also have their registration, who don't have voting rights. But in this case, they might be able to vote as well because the only requirement is the registration form.
Yes. Well, thank you for the insight, Councilor Morales. Pero siguro maganda yung observation ni Councilor Morales. Pero yan pagdating na sa yung integrity of who will vote and who can cast their votes is now the watch of yung COMELEC. Na ang pwedeng among the procedures to be followed, bago bigyan ng whatever ballot, kailangan may ID, may resibo to determine na talagang valid voter at hindi pwedeng bigyan lahat. Siguro it's a guideline that has to be followed. Councilor Morales.
In addition to that, during the NMYL, there were about, if I'm not mistaken, 4,000 to 6,000, probably roughly around 4,000 members who were there, were present, but not everyone was able to vote. We had long lines as well. And it was chaos because there was no system already. When everyone started getting in line, they just now had no other choice but to give out the papers because everyone was agitated with the lines as well. So it's no guarantee that
Nilalabas sa kanya for Luzon. So pwede niya po siguro yan na papalitan niya yung ballot niya kasi hindi po Mindanao. So meron po kaming code talaga.
Pero kung napindot ngayon,
As long as hindi po niya kinaka, yung vote.
Pwede niya i-cast. Actually, pwede niya i-cast. Kasi kung hindi siya magreklamo, pwede niya i-cast. So, I, now, if I can get the ballot from Luzon, I can vote for Luzon, right? Kasi nasa akin Posible yan, di ba?
Yes, sir.
Akala ko, from the chair, akala ko yung explanation ko kanina, kunyari, if I'm a registered voter of Luzon, pagka i-scan yung barcode, ang lalabas lang, Luzon candidates.
Yun nga, sir. Kaya lang po yung pagkakabigay po ng papel sa kanya, mali, hindi po namin
Yung papel yung mali, hindi yung...
hindi namin fault yung pagkakabigay ng maling ballot sa kanya.
So, kunyari ako, registered ng Mindanao, kahit anong machine ng puntahan ko,
Yes, sir, pwede po.
pwede akong bumoto sa
Pwede
kahit
po.
anong machine.
Yes,
At
sir.
lalabas lang yung mga kandidato ng region ko.
Yes, sir.
Doon sa paper.
Based po dun sa barcode po sa paper.
Yes. Yun nga lang, kung hindi magreklamo si konsehal, na kahit taga Mindanao siya, pwede niya mag-cast ng vote sa Visayas. Pwede siya mag-cast.
Pero sir, hindi po namin hawak
Oo nga,
yun.
alam ko.
Pero pwede po yun.
Pero ganun din naman yung problema even if it's manual
Sir, ito yun sir. Nasa COMELEC natin yan. Siyempre kung ikaw, bakit ka lilinya dun sa nagdi-distribute ng balota sa Luzon kung alam mo na sa Mindanao ka.
Hindi naman kasi posible sila magkamali ng distribution ng barcodes. They look identical, yung paper. Hindi naman color-coded kasi barcode.
Sir, pwede po natin i-color-coded yung papel. Pwede po yun. Kasi sa NMYL po, color-coded po kami. Iba po yung green, ang Luzon, yellow po ang Visayas. Pwede po tayong color-coded. Pwede po yan. Kung ano po yung requirements ninyo, susundin po.
Okay, see, at least na...
Yes. Councilor Abubakar then Councilor Morales.
Halimbawa, nakapag-cast na ng votes ang candidate or ang councilor, how do you now know na hindi na siya pwedeng bumoto ulit? Pumilit pa rin ang...
Sa ano kasi to sa problem ng COMELEC to it's not their problem. Pagkakuha po ninyo nung balota, pagkatapos yung bumoto, paglabas po ninyo, merong yan. O ink po yan. Hindi na kayo pwedeng kumuha ulit ng balota kasi stricto po yung COMELEC sa members of good standing.
Okay, Councilor Abubakar.
Yeah, is this the first time nagagamit kayo ng 60 pieces of computers? Ito yung pinakamadami na.
Sa NMYL, 25.
So 25. Ang question ko, paano, nagkaroon ba kayo ng experience wherein nag-hang ang computers ninyo and nagkaroon ng problema sa canvassing? May backup ba tayo or...
Yung server po namin, ano siya, dalawa po. So, mag-download po yung isa, meron pa rin po. Yung server po. Hindi po, sir. Ayusin po agad yun para magsasabay po sila.
Okay.
Okay, Councilor Garcia.
The 600,000 will go to Mega Data, right?
Yes, sir.
And to you. So, we have to pay again the COMELEC kasi may mga tauhan din. So, our cost will not only be 600,000. So, that is what I would like to ask the Executive Director. How much would be the cost on top of the 600 that goes to Mega Data dun sa COMELEC? So, we will overall get a view how much it will really cost. It's not only 600,000. Because I understand, COMELEC will deploy, just like last time. Ganito kasi nangyari dito, semi-automatic lang ito. Hindi naman fully automated kasi ang automate dito, tabulation lang naman. Di ba? Kasi parang mano din yung So, we still need, crucially, the COMELEC. So, the number of personnel, if there are 60, baka mag-60 din yung COMELEC.
Yung main mo pa.
So, yung mga taga-COMELEC will have the same number. So, how much it will cost may ask natin.
Now, siguro, actually, tama yung sinabi ni Chairman Garcia, but what we need from you now is yung firm price. Kasi sinabi mo yung 600, may suki price pa. Kasi kailangan mag-decide yung board of whether to go manual or to go automated. Because if we cannot afford it, of course, we have no recourse but to go manual.
Pwede na 400.
In addition,
Okay na 400.
Hindi po magiging
Diretso na. 400, pwede.
in addition
Yes.
siguro,
Councilor Morales.
i-ano na din natin, let's say if we approve this or settle tayo with the price, what is now the guarantee of PCL? Let's say we use this again, we use the software again for next are we now going to adopt the same price or may increment ba siya? May increase ba siya every 3 years? Because it's the same software basically.
Yes. I think yung sabi ng presenter natin, it is not her position to give a price. Now, when will you be able to talk to the person in the position to give a price, and when can you relay that information to us, considering that we are time constrained?
Pwede ko po itawag mamaya po kay Sir Wilson.
Okay.
Kailangan
Yes.
malalaman natin ngayon. Kailangan malalaman natin ngayon.
Itatawag daw niya muna. Siguro before the end of the MB meeting, we need the So, Chairman. Yes, Councilor Tabor.
How can you assure the integrity? So, that's precisely my. How will you ensure the integrity is not in your hands. It's the COMELEC. What you would assure us is that the counting or canvassing be fast, accurate, and verifiable. Can you assure that? Okay? Yung 600,000, assuming that's the figure, yung tao na 60 persons included na dyan, package na yan. Okay? Now, in your previous elections, were there problems? And how did you resolve it? Insofar as your experience. And finally, para iisa ko na, will you be in a position to compare the PICOs and this one? You will not be in a position. You're a programmer, you know? Di ba? Alam mo na siguro ang anong... Enlighten us. I'm a IT ignorant. Thank you.
Yung sa problem, sir, yung with regards po sa NMYL, wala naman po kami talaga yung na-encounter na yung problema po sa system. So more on sa kanila yung sa distribution ng ballots, tsaka meron po atang hindi nakapaghulog ng balota. Yun po yung naging problem. So, wala po, yung encounter naman po na sa Red Cross po, meron po na protest. Actually, na candidate. So, ang ginawa po namin doon, binuksan po namin yung ballot box. So, minanual namin yung hinulog at tinignan po kung magtatali po dun sa system na binigay kong result. So, okay naman po. So, tapos po yun. With regards naman po sa PCOS kasi, syempre po sir, sa PCOS po kasi nag-ano ka pa rin eh. Nag-shade ka pa rin. Pero yung counting po kasi noon, hindi rin naman po kasi siya hindi naman po automatic nagka-count na agad yun eh. Yun sir yung sa akin. Sa amin po kasi, since may server siya, kada cast po ng vote, nagbibilang na siya. Yun naman po yung ng system namin.
For 10,000 voters, how long will the canvassing?
Sir, once na sinabi niyo pong close, yung close na po ang voting, magpiprint na po ako ng result. Bibigay ko na po agad
So,
yung result
immediately after the casting of votes ng lahat ng delegates,
may result na po.
may resulta na kaagad.
Yes po.
It's just a matter of pressing the button.
Yes, sir.
Sir, Mr. Chairman, again, my question was not answered by the executive director. How much was the expense last year? Because we cannot do away with COMELEC. They are still there. So, there is an additional cost of 600 plus the COMELEC that time. Yan, kailangan natin malaman.
The one presented by Director Manny Gutierrez yesterday was the actual expense of the mobilization of the committee. Wala pa doon po yung pag-set up ng lahat. No? Paghiram ng mga gamit, lahat ng supplies. Wala pa doon. Their expense is 320. That includes the honorarium, all the...
But that was not 60. That was based on the 17 regions.
Yes.
So kasi ngayon may 60 tayo.
But you will not assign people in all the computers. You will just assign 17 again to distribute
Why?
the ballots.
So you will still have very long lines. You have 60 computers, you have 17 COMELEC, you can increase. So we will resolve the long lines.
Hindi.
Kasi
Hindi, kasi they can use any computer eh. Yung 17, tigabigay lang nung balota dun
Per
sa
region.
per region. Then they fan out themselves.
okay, so magkano 380?
320 itong actual nila.
Okay, so that
So
was
you will add this one kung tutuloy.
600 plus yung renta pa ng mga booth. How much was that last time? Kasi, Mr. Chair, I am worried with 9,800 as registration fee, an additional cost of 600 now. Namumroblema na nga ako sa hotel dahil ang tataas ng quotation. So, ngayon, how can we, and then kahapon pa, sabi pa natin sa Execom, na we will have to, what do you call this one, increase the surplus. We are increasing the expenditures. Yun lang naman. In other words, we can resolve this if we increase the saan pagkukunan ng pera nito. Dahil to me, importante ang pagkain, importante ang matulugan, importante ang transportasyon ng ating mga delegado kaysa ganito. I'm not saying, again, I said, I am for. Pero yun nga lang, may mga consequences ito sa other committees. Dahil hindi ito na-factor in doon sa last election dahil manual naman. Yung 380 na yan, yun lang, tsaka yung rental. But with this now, additional cost of 600, and we still have the same registration, I am worried.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Councilor Uy.
yes, yung pangkay natin is election. So the bulk of the expenses, lagyan natin sa election. Ngayon, kung we have 10,000 participants, kumuha lang tayo tagwa 100 pesos, 1 million lang yan. Tapos na yung boxing. So I don't find it problema kung yung gasto 1 million lang. 600 plus 400, 1 million. Divided by 10,000 delegates, nasa 100 lang bawat isang candidates. Ngayon, yung sinasabi natin kasi if you go to mag-manual tayo kahit ano, yung queue talagang nandoon. On my experience sa 3 terms ko as PCL, I bet yung SMX hindi magkasya ng 10,000 ng tao sa loob. I bet it. Hindi tayo magkasya 10,000. Kaya pumunta kami doon sa yung venue before sa World Trade dahil mas malaki. Alam ko yun because I've been with the committee for 3 PCL elections. 10,000 tayong lahat, hindi magkasya sa SMX. So ngayon, anyway, kaya we have to move out yung pagkain, nasa labas. So depende na yan sa preparation, how they will fit in. Yung computerization, kung yung integrity, yung lahat-lahat, maging kompensa kami, that will be the, parang better na yan. Kasi if you go manual, talaga mas mahirap the way I see it. Stressful talaga. Pero yung mga ibang problema, dapat i-content natin yun. Paano natin i-content na yung distribution, tapos yung area, dapat yung computers hiwalay-hiwalay. Hindi dapat isang venue. Kung pwede, mas sa taas, yung isa nasa baba, yung iba nasa parking space, yung iba nasa mall. Oo. Sa Amerika, pag mabutuhan kayo, nasa mall yung mga pikos, nasa simbahan, nasaan. So we use the whole SMX para scattered yung tao. Doon ka magboto sa parking lot. Doon may venue tayo. 60, gawin natin 100 na, kung 100 na computers, 100 lang bawat computers. With your 60, nasa 150 yan.
Okay. Sige. So, thank you so much. And we will wait for the information on how much is the cost. Okay? The chair now calls for the resumption of the meeting. The chair now would like to go back to the unresolved motion presented by NAB Timon in the amendments to the PCL Constitution and bylaws. May I hear from NAB Timon what is your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. After hearing the wisdom of Chair Wilson, Larry, and Owen, completed by the National Vice Chairman, I am withdrawing, Mr. Chairman, my earlier motion and would be agreeable to the proposed amendments with no voting rights on.
Okay, first is there is a motion to withdraw the proposed amendment duly seconded. Is there any further discussion to that? Hearing none, is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is hereby approved. Yes, NAB Timon.
The amendment would be that the said officers shall have the General Counsel, the Executive Director, and the immediate past National Chairman, immediate past National President shall have no voting rights, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, there is a motion that the General Legal Counsel, Executive Director, the immediate past National President, and the National Chairman will have no voting rights. Is there any second? Second. Duly seconded. Is there any further discussion?
None.
Hearing none. Is there any amendment to the amendment? Hearing none. Is there any objection? Hearing none. The said motion is hereby approved. Okay, I think we have to close the amendments to the PCL Constitution and Bylaws, considering that we hear that there is no submitted proposal for further amendment. Let us now go back to the first item of our agenda, is the approval of the proposed amendments to the PCL election guidelines. We please go over your page 11 to 19. First, that we are going to resolve is on the deadline of the candidacy. As mentioned by our presenter, we need 1 month if our election will be our event will be March 5 to 7. The 1 month period will be on February 5. Or we can set the deadline of the certificate of candidacy on February 4.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
may I move that the deadline be moved to January 30? So as we do not want to limit ourselves with the strictly 30-day period that we would be giving whoever would be handling our election.
Considering that January 31 is a holiday.
Yes.
So January 30 will be the last working day
Yes, Mr.
of the
Chair.
month of January. There is a motion presented by our regional chairperson, Marcel Morales, duly seconded. Yes, discussion.
How will we be able to inform every PCL member in the entire country of such info? Because it is not limited only to this room na gustong tumakbo. So we have to cause the widest dissemination of the deadline and where they can get the certificates of candidacy, so that we will not be accused of later on, wala kami, ba't hindi namin alam? Because ang alam nila before, even on the last few weeks before the national convention,
Mr. Chair.
yes, but we have to inform them. There's no...
Yes, actually we will be sending our notices to invitation to every members for the forthcoming March 5 to 7. Maybe we can include that information or a flyer within that envelope, the information that the deadline of the certificate of candidacy will be January 30, and if the Commonwealth wishes, they can get the certificate of candidacy in their own regional offices of the DILG, so that it will not be too much taxing to the councilors to go to Manila, or we will have ready to email that to them, or if our website is operational, they can download that or other system na magagamit natin, so that everybody will not be deprived of the chance, if they wish to run for the said position, they can access the copy of the certificate of candidacy. And even we suggest that the filing of the certificate of candidacy to Director Bigotes yesterday is they have to authorize the regional offices of the DILG to be their agent to accept the certificate of candidacy of any councilors who wish to run. I think we will have Chairperson Morales first.
Yes, Mr. Chair, in addition to that, we have our regional chairman here, chairwoman, and I think they would be the proper officers as well to inform other councilors in their areas or regions, and maybe they can work hand in hand together with the other PFPs.
Okay. Yes, Director Owen.
with all due respect, and I think to protect this board, we need to publish whatever is agreed upon today, so that it will cause the widest dissemination. Walang magreklamo. Kasi alam naman natin sa probinsya, kahit tayo RCC, PNP, kaya ba natin isa-isahin ang ating mga tauhan? Hindi naman. But when we publish it, under the law, hindi naman sila pwedeng magreklamo dahil meron nakapublish. So kahit 1/4 doon sa newspaper general circulation, just to protect. Kasi we are departing from the what was nasanayan for the long established practice for the longest time. So I would suggest that we give, like, let's say, kasi madali lang naman, picture lang naman kailangan at saka profile para may upload dun sa system. Maybe we can extend to February 15, so we will have time to publish.
I think
Deadline February 15.
I think after the approval of these election guidelines, we will beat the deadline with today. Ipapadala natin ito sa DILG dahil another memorandum circular will be issued, no, to cover these election guidelines because that is one of the way to disseminate that to the field officers of the DILG to inform the different councilors. But the suggestion of Chairman Owen is noted. May we hear from our executive
Mr.
director.
Chairman, 3 years ago, medyo wala ring time no, no? But the DILG helped us to disseminate that on the PCL Secretariat side, we send out communications to the President. What is good today is we have not sent the invitations to all LGUs. That is more or less 1,400 LGUs. As said by the Chairman, we can attach a flyer that the deadline, and also if we can finalize with the COMELEC, we can attach the certificate of candidacy to the invitations. Para
That's 20 days. Okay? That's 20 days from today, the deadline. Because today is January 10. If we set the deadline on January 30, that's 20 days. We understand the mailing of PCL is through the regular mail. So, you'll have time to generate it bago makarating doon. They have 10 days. How can you... Kasi alam ko, we were talking to what do you call this one? The one producing the program. Na kailangan nila 2 weeks to prepare the software. Ready na. I-upload na lang naman yung mga names and the so it can be done in
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Yes, I would like to reiterate lang. We are now closing our doors on basically on 2 options. When we discussed this na they would only need this much time, we are not yet final on the decision whether it is the system of NMYL where they were doing manual or we still have an option with the PCOS. Let us remember that with the PCOS, they would need at least a month for that as well. And the COMELEC would be meeting on Tuesday, and until then, that's the only time that we would find out. So if we would set the deadline too late, then it's like closing our doors already for the PCOS.
I think that's the implication. If we decide now to get mega data, we forget about PCOS already. Kasi, magpapagulo pa yun, and then mag-meeting na naman ang board, di ba, to decide on that. So, I am just, ako kasi, I'm just trying to protect this group, no? Tayo, sa board. Kasi, kahit pa sabihin natin yung ako naman, I'm okay with the mega data.
Hello.
Akin lang, because it's a departure from the established procedures, may publication lang. Publication naman, how much would it cost us?
Tatanong ko.
Doon lang, basta may publication lang, kahit doon lang sa...
Okay, we will first decide on the pending motion duly seconded that we are setting the deadline of the filing of candidates January 30, 2014, no? The last working day for the month of January. Amendment. Hearing none. Is there any objection to the
Amendment.
Amendment to the amendment?
February 5
Dala
p.m.
niya.
Chairman, objection to the amendment of the amendment, Mr. Chairman.
No, we are still on. We will give Chairman Oy. So you are amending that it will be to include the time instead because we are still on the date, no? We are only in the date. So
February 5, tapos 5 p.m. Deadline.
5 p.m. not midnight.
Not midnight. Office hours. Ano bang February 5? Baka Sunday. Oh, tama. Until 5, ano lang, 5.
Ano ba yung 5? February 5 is Wednesday.
Okay. February 5, 5 p.m.
Okay, that is the amendment to the amendment.
Mr. Chair,
Okay, saan
Yes.
natin ibibigay yung ano natin?
Dili.
Certificate of candidacy.
First.
This venue.
First, is there any second to that amendment to the amendment?
Chairman, I object to the amendment of...
Is there any second to the amendment to the amendment? Duly seconded. So no further discussion. There is an objection. Those who are in favor to the amendment presented by Chairman Oy, please raise your right hand.
What is the amendment to the amendment?
It will be February 5 at 5 p.m. That is the amendment to the amendment of Wilson Oy.
So merong motion, there is a motion of ano?
Yes. It was amended and there was an amendment. So we will dispose first the amendment to the amendment. Those who are in favor to the amendment presented by Chairman Oy, please raise your right hand. 5 o'clock. February 5, 5 o'clock. Please raise your right hand. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. February 5, 5 p.m. 9. Those who are against, please raise your right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 9 voted for the 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So the said amendment and amendment is lost. So let us go back to the amendment, the first amendment. I think the same issue, February 5. So there's no need to resolve. We will go back to the main motion as amended. The amendment was not carried. That it will be January 30, midnight. We will, because the proposal is midnight. Those who are, is there any objection? Yes. Okay, there is an objection. Those who are in favor of the said motion, please raise your right hand. Of the January 30, midnight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Those who are against. The said motion of Chairperson Maricel Morales is approved. So is there any further motion related to the election guidelines?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
that I move that we publish in a newspaper of general circulation the date of the deadline of the filing of the certificate of candidacy.
So there is a motion that we will cause for the publication of the deadline of the filing of the certificate of candidacy in a newspaper of general circulation. Duly seconded. Is there any discussion to the said motion? Is there a discussion? Is there any amendment? Yes, in ABP Mon.
To include the inclusion of not only publication but inclusion of the flyers in the notices sent and the information related to the regional chair to disseminate the same.
So other than the publication, it is still needed that it will be included in the invitation to be sent to every member of this August body. So I think, yes, Chairperson Daludo, Mayor Natal.
Just a query, Mr. Chair. Do we have a regular budget since we will be may budget? O yun lang.
Yeah,
We
it
have
will
a
be-
regular budget for publication.
Yes, if it will now be approved by this August body, Chairperson Myra will include that to
So, sa-
her budget proposal.
Okay.
Okay, is there any further, is there any objection to said motion as amended? Hearing none, the said motion is hereby approved. A further related motion to the guidelines.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
uh, the one who will be affected on the, if we decide on the automation, is section 11, the manner of voting, manner and procedure of voting. So, may I suggest, if ever these guidelines will be approved, siguro the board will authorize only the MANCOM to decide on the manner of voting, manner and procedure of voting.
Yes, Vice Chairman.
Maybe also here we could have a healthy compromise. We could provide two procedures that we could follow.
Yes.
Now, if manual voting is taken, then we follow this procedure. If automation is taken, then the other procedure.
Actually, I agree on that because we are still on the experiment period. We better have this manner of voting if manually, and we will have the manner of voting if we are using the automation.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
so we go back to square one. I thought we have agreed already to go automated.
We are just trying to entertain if there will be failure. If in case, just for us not to meet again.
Mr. Chair, I said my position was to eliminate the variables because we're in the thick of preparation. If we commit to automated, let's commit to automated and amend the rules, not eliminate the variables. You know why? Busy tayo lahat eh. Diba? So, if there's a need of a board action, okay, we can call. But again,
Okay, we will hear from the National Vice Chairman Bong with the comment of Chairman Owen.
No, actually, I don't see anything wrong. Because if we commit to automation, there would be nothing wrong if we provide an alternative in the bylaws. Because, you know, this could be adopted by the next board whenever they conduct an election. They might decide to conduct a manual election after this time. So we just open it to both possibilities.
let's leave it to the next, Mr. Chair. Kasi, ganito, if we commit to an automated election, let's prepare a guideline for automated election. Ang gulo kasi, if maraming variables. Now, ang issue na lang naman ata is the amount, di ba? Kasi, hinahingi lang naman natin yung a little lower price dun sa mega data. Yung tinatanong ni RCC Morales kanina, if we're closing the doors to PCOS, if we agree with mega data now, we're closing the doors to PCOS. Kasi, when will we sign contract with them? And we have set the deadline already on January 30.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, in ABP 1.
Mr. Chairman, what we have approved is the transfer of deadline to January 30. Why are we voting? I voted in favor. It's because if we will not reset or earlier, we're only closing the avenues for automation. Because all they want was time. So we reset this and come up with at least the option. If we adopt automation, then we're still within the timetable that these programmers want. Now, if we fail on the automation, then we go back to manual. That's the wisdom of the National Vice Chairman's point. Thank you.
Yes,
Mr.
Secretary
Chairman,
Director.
I raised this because in page 13, ang naka-drop dito is manual. But nakita ko po sa computer ko, this was prepared by Attorney Owen Garcia. This is the manner of voting on automation. Nandito po sa computer ko. So, if we decide on this is automation, we have prepared the manner of voting prepared by Owen 3 years ago.
Yes, because we are planning to have the automation before.
Ang hindi na include dyan ang protest mechanism. Kasi manual din. You have to amend the protest mechanism dahil pang manual yan.
So we will first resolve whether Chairman Owen, are you agreeable to the proposal that we have to provide the manner and procedure of voting if manually done, and another provision if the election, the manner and procedure of the voting will be done automation, just to have safety nets if in case?
Mr. Chair, again, my understanding was we are going to set the deadline on January 10 because we are already assuming that January 30, because we are assuming that we are already automated and the data is needed by the programmers. Now, we still put provisions on manual. Ano ba talaga mga ate at mga kuya? Kasi magulo talaga yan. So, let's eliminate the variable.
Okay, Mr. Chairman. Yes, Vice Chairman po, because...
Actually, wala namang nagulo dyan eh. Well, the reason why we're laying down two guidelines, that's a safety net. In case there is a failure. Di ba? That's nothing wrong in setting an alternative in case. We are actually covering all bases. This is a catch-11. Kaya lang gumugulo because of the constant objection of the gentleman from...
I prepared, as correctly pointed out by Executive Director Wilson, I prepared these guidelines when we were also entertaining the possibility of what's the name? Having an automated election. Alam mo gaano kahirap? Kaya if we decide, I'm with the group that said, let's go automated. Okay, fine, despite the worries that we have. Now, we are going to assume that there is a failure. There will be a failure. That's why we're pointing safety nets. We cannot do that in the planning. Wala na tayong time.
No? Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
sa
yes.
lahat ng pagpaplano, you plan for both instances to happen. Now, for example, there become a failure. Yung dineliver ng, kunyari, for one case or another, yung dineliver ng metadata nag-fail. Then, how do we proceed with the election? Ginawa na we limited ourselves to automation. Wala na.
May fallback tayo.
May fallback lang to eh.
I think that the point is our election guidelines to be approved today will be sent to DILG for circular. And then if we will fail for the automation and convene again the board, it will take another amendment to that to the election guidelines, another circular. So what the principle is, provide the two manner if as a safety nets, if and when there is a failure of our desire to have the automation, and we will go back manually. And if we will go back manually, there is already an existing manner and procedure of voting. Yes, Chairman Yap.
Good morning, Mr. Presiding Officer. While both contentions are meritorious, I subscribe to the suggestion of Vice Chair Sontay because considering the length of time sa preparation, we don't know kung may fortuitous event, wala tayong alternative or safety net. Ang sa atin lang naman is, of course, we want to have an electronic elections, but we do not discount the fact na baka may fortuitous event na mangyari in this very limited time of preparation. So at least meron tayong alternative. So I subscribe and support the idea of Vice Sontay.
I respect, Mr. Chair.
Yes,
I respect all the ideas. Ako kasi, I just wanted to eliminate the variables. If from the beginning, I said let's eliminate the variables. Kasi kung ganun din lang pala, then mag-manual na. Para wala na yung variable na
So, end that discussion, Mr. Chairman. Let's divide the house.
That's why I am appealing to Chairman Owen so that we will agree on to provide first we have to agree if it is we need the opinion because everybody will be given the chance to speak. It will be take a long period unless Chairman Owen will agree that we will provide it to manner.
Last piece, Mr. Chairman, I would, dito lang, you present two election guidelines circularized throughout the country to members of the PCL. Ano ang susundin doon? Kulatilla. In the event there's a failure, doon tayo susunod sa isa.
Yes.
Yun ang gusto niyong ipalabas. Na meron tayong dalawang election guidelines.
No, not election guideline, but Section 11 will have two options on the manner and procedure of voting.
Hindi lang kasi Section 11 yan.
Affected
Pati
yung sa
yung protest
mechanism, yes.
Kasi ibang protest mechanism sa automated kaysa manual. So, I am amenable, basta ikulatilya dyan na yung isa, yung priority automated.
Yes.
Tapos, in the event of a failure, klaro
Yes,
doon.
I think there's a problem with that. There's a problem with that. So, you make the proper motion that...
I move to withdraw my earlier comment, Mr. Chair.
And then...
Earlier motion.
And I think the motion now is to put priority the automation and provide the manual manner of voting in a manner if and when there will be failure in the automation.
I will not be the one moving that, Mr. Chair. As I said, I don't want variables.
Okay.
So, let somebody do it.
So, Vice Chairman, motion to that effect.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move to the amended provision to provide an alternative with the kulatilla that in case of a failure of the automated election, procedures for manual voting shall be followed as indicated in the...
Okay, there's a motion. Is there any second? Duly seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, is there any amendment? Hearing none, is there any objection? Hearing none, the said motion is hereby approved. Is there any related motion to the guidelines, especially on the protest? Because as mentioned by Chairman Owen, the protest in the automation will be different to the manual voting. May I hear from Chairman Owen?
I would move that this matter be referred to a group to study. Kasi yung recount, as you heard sa presentation kanina, i-proclaim immediately, but if there's a question, they go back to the hard ballots that was dropped in the ballot boxes. So following the procedure of the protest mechanism in the Red Cross, kasi naka-tailored fit na doon sa procedure na to, I could not possibly present it today, Mr. Chair. So, yun, we will have to commit it to somebody.
So, can we assign that to immediately make the necessary provision to a committee of 3 and come up to date? Because we will be sending this to the DILG for the issuance.
I will not volunteer myself, Mr. Chair, because I have so many tasks going around the city to look for hotels.
So, who will going to volunteer? Okay, may I request by National Vice Chairman Bong Suntay, and then NABP Montamor, and maybe we will request the Chairman of the NCR, Attorney Raul Coro, to be a member of the Committee of 3 to look into the protest mechanism of the election guidelines to be used in the March 5 to 7. So is there any more discussion? And I was informed by the representative that we will just fix in the 600,000, and with the promise that maybe it can be handled lower down rather than going up.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
With regards to the first issue we just raised, with regards to yung protest mechanism, why don't we assign the implementation of the rules with a COMELEC? Total, we have already appointed yung COMELEC to supervise the election. Then they could also handle the rules pertaining to yung protest mechanism. Just to erase any biases which may happen.
Yes, Chairman Owen.
Mr. Chair.
Chairman Owen and then Chairman Owen. Chairman Owen, yes.
Mr. Chair, my suggestion on Section 14, any gray area of this particular section, it should be supplementary to the COMELEC rules. para wala na tayong gagawing pang mechanism, Mr. Chair. Kasi in
Considering
case
that
any interpretation na hindi natin ma-interpret sa Section 14, supplementary na natin sa COMELEC rules and regulations.
so it meant to say we will have a section in this election guideline that the existing election law of the Republic of the Philippines becomes supplementary
Yes.
to our election.
It can be, Mr. Chairman, an addition to Section 14, another paragraph. Kasi may
Yes.
plea lang naman yung provision dito sa
Yes.
protest and disqualification sa Section 14. Eh.
So that provision will be included as a second paragraph of Section 14. So can the Vice Chairman state that how it will be worded so that our Executive Director will be guided accordingly?
In the event of any protest which could be raised, the guidelines and procedures used by the COMELEC shall be followed in resolving the issues.
Okay, is there any second to that motion? Duly seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Is there any amendment? Hearing none. Is there any objection? Hearing none. Is the motion is hereby approved. So we have to close now the period of amendments and related to the election guidelines. Considering the time element is already 11:18. We will go related items related to the 9th National Congress. May I know from the Executive Director whether we have the consolidated plans and programs with the 9th National Congress for the approval of the National Board?
Mr. Chairman, I only received a proposed budget signed by the Special Audit Committee, Mr. Chairman, stating that they will just use the same budget 3 years ago.
Considering that we agreed yesterday that all the chairperson will submit their budget, so considering the inavailability of the document, can we use the previous 9th Congress as a working budget, and then maybe working budget, just a working budget, and then the National Board will authorize the EXICOM, considering the most of the member of the EXICOM are member of the National Board, to approve the additional budget or the revised budget of every committee. Is there any...
So moving, Mr. Chair.
Okay, there is a motion and duly seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Is there any amendment? Hearing none. Is there any objection? Hearing none. The said motion is hereby approved. And considering that our 9th Congress has no collection yet, but it is proper for the National Board to authorize first that for the preparation of the 9th National Congress, the National Board will authorize that our existing funds will be utilized subject to replenishment. Is there any motion to that effect? There is a motion and duly seconded. Is there any further discussion? Is there any amendment? Is there any objection? Hearing none, the said motion is hereby approved. Same with the previous 8th Congress. We know from our National Treasurer is here, being the chairman of the Committee on Finance and Ways and Means, whether or not our 8th National Congress account is still existing, so that we will not authorize for the opening of a separate account for the 9th National Congress. National Treasurer Perla, yes, you are recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. As regards to the account of the 8th National Congress, it has been closed, so we encourage that we open another account for the 9th Congress.
Okay, so may we hear from the chairperson of the Committee on Finance, Ways and Means, what will be the recommended bank so that the National Board now can authorize the opening of the account for the 9th National Congress?
We have depository bank, Mr. Chair, so we do not need to open for our 9 Congress. We might as well use our depository bank.
All depository bank, because our purpose is we will have one separate because our existing depository bank are funds of the general fund, so that it can be properly audited by our Congress auditor and our special audit committee.
Okay, for that matter, we might as well have Allied Bank for our national Congress.
Allied Bank, what branch?
Nearest to us, Kamuning.
Kamuning. Yes, yes.
I think there's no more other bank today, Mr. Chair. It will be consolidated with CNB. It will now be PNB instead of
Yes, Secretary Director.
Can we hear, Mr. Chairman, a insight from our accountant? Because in 2011, we used a separate account. However, there were councilors that they used to deposit to our land bank, to our Allied Bank, which is now PNB. So it makes us, especially the accountant, more chaotic. Nahahalo din eh. So, it is a suggestion of our accountant during our meeting that we just use the same account. Yung land bank and PNB now.
Okay, with the approval of the August body, as requested by our Secretary Director, we may hear from our accountant any suggestions or share with us some problems that we have encountered during the conduct of the 8th National Congress.
Mr. Chairman, as the director said, we had this problem of mixed deposits also last time. So we had our BDO account for the 8th Congress, but deposits are being made with LBP and Allied Bank also. So we still had to reconcile the deposits for the 8th Congress. And I think Allied Bank, we have an easier working relationship with Allied Bank. So it's easy for us to talk to them, to pick up our collections at the yes, that's the main advantage of having our own bank here.
Okay, actually, why they are depositing in the land bank? Because the prepaid, like other municipality, the available bank in their area is land bank.
Yes, sir.
So if they will deposit their prepaid registration to other bank, they will be paying additional cost.
Yes, sir, precisely.
So how can we reconcile that? The real what really happening in the field, because we want our councillors to be convenient in sending their prepaid payment.
Yes, sir. That's why we're recommending that we use our present bank.
But we will have one bank. Siguro ang gagawin natin, pwedeng gamitin natin yung mga existing bank account natin, but once pumasok yun, ita-transfer natin sa isang bangko, like Allied, di ba? Kasi ang accounting kasi diyan ang mahirap eh. Malalaman mo natin kung may pumasok. Kung pumasok siya, ita-transfer agad. Iyan na lang siguro yung aking suggestion.
One thing, siguro sir, kung mag-base tayo sa prepaid, di ba nag-pack sila ng deposit slip?
Yes.
There are times that pag nag-check si Vicky sa bangko, hindi naman tama kasi there are times na check yung dinideposit nila, wala pang accountant's advice, hindi naman nakikredit yun sa account natin. Isa pang bagay siguro na tingnan natin at Vicky.
Basta importante, the National Board will have an existing authority to open for an account for the 9th National Congress. And maybe we will give our Allied Bank, as suggested, to?
There are municipalities, sir, that only land bank is one.
And Land Bank of the Philippines, for 2 banks. Okay. So is there any motion to that effect for the purpose of the 9th National Congress? and it will be closed after the audit has been done by designated our internal and external audit. Is there any motion? Okay, there is a motion to open the two account for the 9th National Congress with Allied Bank and Land Bank, respectively. Duly seconded. Is there any further discussion? Is there any amendment? Hearing none, is there any objection? Hearing none, the said motion is hereby approved.
Mr. Chairman, clarification.
Yes.
Kasi we will be sending out communications. We are using the depository banks at present, no, yung Land Bank and Allied Bank. The motion was to open another account. Dalawa. I think the intention of the chair is yung kung saan convenient yung councilors na mag-deposit, no? So yun po yung present natin, yung Land Bank and Allied. But the motion is to open two accounts, two separate accounts.
To open set new accounts para specifically for the 9th Congress para hindi magulo ang funds.
Pero ang tanong niya, because we will be sending ngayon ng notice, no? Baka bigla may magbayad ng prepaid.
Kung meron at least less ang problem kung konti lang ang mag-deposit dun sa mga existing
Yes.
easier to reconcile.
Okay, we will just have that standing authority. It's up to the National Treasurer and maybe with our Secretary for the National President and myself to really determine the execution of the said motion. So, the other item that we have is in the last meeting that we have in Remington, we have approved the 2 million financial assistance to the victim of the typhoon Yolanda, the earthquake, the 7.2 earthquake, and even the Zamboanga problem. And based on the record, 171 LGU has been affected. Actually, this is in relation also to the letter of the President of Eastern Samar and even the calls made by the different president. And I told them that in order that our fellow councilors will feel that our support to them, we will just give them 1,000 pesos each, no? During our MANCO meeting last night, in order that it will not be tedious in the part of our accountant and our cashier to prepare the check, we will give 1,000 to the members in good standing, and it will be the check will be named in the chapter, their chapter. For example, Lady Chapter, the president is President and Chairman Wilsonoy, and the corresponding amount list will be indicated, considering that we will be giving the members in good standing. And also, the province of Bohol has already complied with the documentary as to the extent of the damage. And I know there are claimors coming from Cebu that are affected with the earthquake, and also the Negros Occidental. So we will request that the same what the Bohol did is to submit that if it is still possible, the documentation, the extent of the damage. Because if we will have the 171 times 10 councilors, for example, average, at 1,000, it will be 1.7 million. So we will have still 300,000 that can be given to the victim of the earthquake and the Zamboanga. Yes.
Typhoon Yolanda that was affected by northern Iloilo and also...
Yes, the Typhoon Yolanda, we will base on the record of the national disasters.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
I think other items, we can have this be delayed and finally resolved. Maybe in the next board meeting of the present and even the next national board meeting of the national set of officers for disposition. we will focus more this time on the preparation of the 9th National Congress. So, do you have any some announcement? Yes.
Mr. Chair, allow me to go back regarding our preparation for the upcoming PCL National Convention. We were appointed as committee chair on a particular committees, but we don't have members under our committee. I would like to pass a motion that we be allowed to appoint vice chairman or any councilors for that matter be with us in the formulation of some policy and other nitty-gritty things which we are going to do, Mr. Chair. Kasi wala kaming mga committee membership eh. Dapat we be given a blanket authority to appoint sino ang gusto natin isama sa committee.
Okay, actually, the President and myself agreed that we will give the appointed chairperson, to choose their vice chairman and a member, and with a preference that the vice chairman will be coming from the national board to our regional chairman without no assigned committee, and maybe members they can get into the provincial federation president, especially within Metro Manila, so that they can be of help in the preparation of the different works assigned to the chairman and the chairpersons. I think it is clear to all the chairman. May we hear from mas maganda yung pakinggan natin yung presidente natin.
Sa akin kasi, mas maganda na yung chairman, sila na lang ang mamili nung katim nila para mas relax sila kung sino yung inaakala nila na makakatulong sa kanila. Pero yung kung chairman, di ba may tatanong lang po ako kasi hindi natin, nasa ano po natin yun na hindi ka pwedeng humawak ng committee pag tatakbo ka sa any position? Okay, yun lang po ang...
Actually, pag tatakbo ka, you are not supposed to hold the committee. Even when you are holding a committee, if you want to run, you will be deemed resigned of your committee. So,
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
I would like to address this to my good friend Wilson Oy, because yesterday he said to me that he is running for the national treasurer, but he holds the chairmanship of the invitation and program. So we will hear from Chairman Oy, Mr. Chairman, whether he intends to run for a national
Actually,
treasurer.
Councilor Ed, the deadline is on January 30.
Yes, January
I am
30.
still talking with Councilor Tabor.
Are you running? My question is, are you running?
You will know very soon.
Actually, nobody can stop everyone here from running, but what is the policy is once you will run, you are vacating the said. That's why we are preparing the vice chairman and the members to take over so that our 9th Congress preparation will not be hampered. So, I think the next activity that we are going to have will be more concentrating on the preparation, and we will be holding some EXICO meeting. And before we adjourn the meeting, we would like to hear from our national president some few words.
Mr. Chairman.
We are in a special board meeting. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I move to recognize
the chair now would like to suspend the rules, and we will give our National Secretary General the chance to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon to all the members of the National Board. We'd just like to inquire, make clarifications with the National Board, because as all of you know, we will be sending out the communications for the upcoming National Convention this coming March already. And as head of the Secretariat, we should just want to know exactly what should be inside the communications for the sending out of invitations to our delegates this coming March. Send out na po kasi kami, so ano-ano po yung mga include namin para wala kaming ma-miss out.
I think first is the invitation, the circular.
So para auto put on record din po. So the circular and then yung kanina po yung
the flyer on
flyer.
the election information.
Okay.
May I know from
With
the
the deadline
Secretary
na
Director? Yes. The Secretary Director, what are the other items? Yes, including as requested to the President, to the President of the Federation, the Treasurer, and the Auditor, the Regional Chairman, the policy of the Board on our auditing manual.
Actually, Mr. Chair, I would just like to clarify on that one also. If we were to send that out to our presidents already, wouldn't it confuse them? Kasi we're inviting them for the National Convention this coming March. Tapos masasamahan ng iba. Secondly, when that policy was passed, I remember I was still the chairperson at that time. I was still in the National Board. I believe that was questioned by the board. When that was presented to the NEO, it was questioned by the presidents as well. The only reason why this board passed that policy was because of the scheduled roundtable discussion of the MANCOM together with the COA, DBM, and DILG, for us to be able to show that PCL actually has a system in our auditing procedures. But I believe, as far as I'm concerned, ang alam ko po doon, it was passed with a collateria na it is still subject for the final approval of the board because there are provisions there na talagang kailangan natin na marinig yung mga hinaing opinion ng ating mga presidente. Because when it was topic sa NEO, marami po talagang presidents na tumayo at nagtatanong about it. Now, given the situation now that we were not able to call for a NEO meeting, I believe it is important that we consult our presidents nationwide first of their opinions and suggestions on this. Kasi maapektuhan pati yung pagtatrabaho nila sa kanilang mga probinsya with this policy before we send them out as official communication and as a policy of this board.
Okay, we will just go over the minutes of the meeting in Bacolod and then let our...
Mr. Chair, it was not on record.
No.
We were on recess at that time. So even if you look into the minutes, you wouldn't see that it was passed because of that. But I believe the members of the board then were present here as well. Maybe we can ask them about what they think about it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, maybe we can resolve this. This is administrative matters. We can...
Proposal. So any other papers to be included in the communications for the upcoming National Convention?
May we hear from
the Executive Director? Thank you.
Only the prepaid form, flyers for the filing, the circular, the invitation. Kasi po, pag masyadong makapal ito, the post office will not accept. Kasi meron silang sinusundan na kapal yung post office. Oo. Hindi, we will send, there are municipalities na walang LBC. So, next week, we will send out LBC and post office. Per municipality po yun.
Okay, thank you. So, may we hear from our national president because it is now 12 noon.
Papasalamat lang ako. Unang-una po, maraming salamat sa mga chairman nandito ngayon. Thank you sa time at nakita ko pong busy rin kayo at halos lahat present ngayon, nakakatuwang tignan. Sana lang tayo po ay magkaisa pagdating po sa March dahil po kailangan po natin maalagaan ang kapwa konsihal, na sana huwag tayo magkaroon ng problema. And I think nakikita ko naman na lahat tayo nagkakaisa para doon. Yun lang sana. At saka, patience lang. Talagang alam nating mahirap po. Sana tutukan lang natin yung mga trabaho natin para hindi mapabayaan yung mga ating mga kasamahan na konsihal. Thank you and magandang hapon po sa inyo lahat. Yes po.
Chairman, if you allow, may pending query ako kanina na yung breakdown sa 9,800. Wala pang sagot yun.
Actually, we are waiting for the submission of the budget of the different committees because we will see to it that the 9,800 will be properly distributed. For example, the cost of the election will be, we will allocate 100 pesos per delegate.
Excuse me, Chairman. Usually, ang registration is only 9,000.
Yes, 9,000.
We make it 9,800 considering
There is an assessment.
yung 800, paano yung i-divide?
Yung
800.
The 800, as agreed in the Remington Hotel, the 300 will be given as an incentive to the provincial chapter and the city chapter, encouraging them to pay prepaid. And the 200 will be our support to the Legislative Academy for the further operation, considering that we have now.
Subsidy.
Yes, for the operation, because we are now on the regional, we are now implementing the regionalization of our different classes. So we are now expanding to the different region and even provinces. And another 300 will be the usual, the books that we are going to include in our souvenir item. That will be related to legislation, the usual, the Vivian Swansing legislative tollbacks, the legislative toolkit. As we agreed in the management committee meeting, Executive Director Wilson will talk to Vivian to make an update on some contents, and then the other half will be provided on some best practices of the local government, and we will be tapping the UP as our source through Dr. Alex Brillantes.
Mr. Chairman, if you can recall during the Bacolod meeting, the books, the international capability building, and the hostel renovation was part of the agenda, with this representation questioning it because parang hindi dinaan sa NEO, parang mayroong insertions during the NB meeting in the Bacolod. And that is why I'm bringing with me today my tape recorder, because after this meeting I will submit this to the regional officers in Region 7 kung ano nangyari dito. Kasi during the meeting in Remington, walang minutes doon na kasali yung discussion natin during the Bacolod meeting. Di ba? Para nag-argue tayo dyan na sa tingin ko, mayroong insertions during the meeting while it was not being passed and presented yung DNEO. So, ngayon na, Chairman, yung nangyari sa books, kini-question ko nga. Kasi hindi alam ng NEO yan. Tapos, yung mga subsidy ng PCLA, nandyan na naman, na for me, magbayad naman tayo during the training. Bakit palaging may subsidy ang PCLA? Tapos wala namang financial report na binigay sa atin. Ano nangyari sa pira sa PCLA? Hindi naman palaging subsidy na kulang yung pera sa kanila ng gastos.
I think we will request the chairman of the Board of Trustees of the Legislative Academy, Councilor Owen Garcia, to furnish the gentleman, our regional chairman of Region 7, to the latest financial report of the NA.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not finished yet. Yeah. The one I'm questioning is the books, kasi hindi dumaan sa NEO, hindi naman dumaan sa board, tapos ini-insert naman sa registration na yung 300 intended for the book, kailangan aprubahan yun sa board. Pwede palagi direktang kagad i-insert na naman sa registration.
No, it was approved in Remington that the registration is 9,800 with the following
pero sa tingin ko, Chairman, excuse me, sa tingin ko, kasi hindi dumaan, hindi na-approve sa board, in-insert na lang sa registration. It's unfair. It's unfair for the NEO, Mr. Chairman. I will report this to the Region 7 because hindi ko, parang hindi ko papayag na ganito.
Councilor Ed, objection. That 800 was approved by the board.
Approved by the board.
There is no such thing as no approval because we don't pass on registration without an
Yes,
approval.
the registration was approved by the Remington board meeting.
Yes.
But the mere fact that the 300 pesos intended for the book, it was not being passed with the board.
It is passed.
Lay on the table, sabi na, lay on the table and say, the Bacolod meeting, but never found out in the minutes.
Hindi,
What nangyari sa minutes?
The Bacolod meeting is speaking about the book to become
Yes,
up by the
yes.
PCL. But the Remington meeting is setting the registration that we are going to collect to include the following.
Kasi kami, hindi namin gusto yung box na ganito, hindi kami nakita. Let the councilors buy the book, not sila parang automatic, nagbili ka na kaagad.
Actually, that is your opinion. We will just go over with the record. Thank you for that concern.
At saka kailangan, Mr. Chairman, mayroon namang intern naman tayo. Mayroon namang financial report, PCLA, cooperative, ano nangyari ng pera ng cooperative. Pera natin yun. Kailangan yun na.
And we will request all
Wala namang financial report.
we will request the two chairman of the board of trustees of the LA and the chairman of the cooperative.
Di ba kung mag-ask tayo ng LGU, before ka bibigyan ng another financial assistance, mayroon namang liquidation? Mas liquidation, wala.
Larry will answer on the LA.
Let's come first, no? And as Executive Director of the PCA Legislative Academy, I am responsible to the operations and the transparency. Everything is above board. Next board meeting, I will furnish you of the specific expenditures, including our compliance with the Securities and Exchange Commission and our private auditor, the CPE, and we were even visited by the COA. We will furnish everything because in our board meeting, we have quarterly financial report. Aside from our compliance with the provision of the Constitution and bylaws of the PCL, that every end of the year, we will submit a consolidated financial report. Give me a benefit of the doubt. I will assure you that this program is above board, and I am responsible, especially to the transparency of the expenditures, and you can look at our performance. So, next board meeting, I will furnish you, every member of the board will furnish you of all our financial reports.
Lahat ng membro bigyan mo, Mr. Larry.
Yes.
Lahat, hindi lang ako.
Hindi.
Lahat ng membro,
Yes.
hindi nakakontribute sa PCLA.
Hindi, sinabi ko, all members of the national board, bibigyan ko. Because we have our separate and distinct personality. We have our own board of trustees, and I report regularly, including the expenditures and the performance or accomplishments of our operations. Now, you are asking for the financial report. I will give all members of the national board of the financial report of the PCA Legislative Academy.
Maybe my suggestion is
Thank you, Director Larry.
not only in the members of the national board, maybe we can include that as a matter of updating our national membership during the 9th National Congress as to the operation of the LA, what are the money coming in the LA, how it was spent, including our PCL cooperative. We will hear from our national vice chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I understand the sentiments of Councilor Quizon, but as chairman of the PCL Credit Co-op, we are prepared to submit the financials of everything that the Co-op has created. I would also like to manifest and put on record that ever since I took over as chairman, the PCL Credit Co-op has been using my office for free, my staff for free. I've been spending for my personal money for the PCL Credit Co-op. All my travels, I never charge anything from the PCL Credit Co-op, even the food. For all the board meetings that we had, I paid for it in my personal capacity and not used a single centavo from the funds of the PCL Credit Co-op. But I understand how you feel. I just wanted to put it on record.
Mr.
And
Chairman.
Miss Esther will provide with the
Mr. Chairman, in order not to spoil our day, Councilor Ed was just asking for a report. He's not questioning the integrity, how the funds are, because Ilan Alawar, he is very conscious because he's also been asked in Cebu regional councilors, what will he say? So I hope Larry, Director Larry and Chairman Bong, please don't misinterpret the request of the gentleman from Cebu of his query.
No, Mr.
I think,
Chairman.
Councilor Ed, I think we have to end the discussion. The honorarium is already waiting for us at the back. I think we have to adjourn our...
Mr. Chairman, I have nothing against Councilor Ed. In fact, as I mentioned, I understand him, and it's every right of the members of the board to question because we are responsible to our the other councilors we represent, and it is just proper that that accounting of everything that we receive is properly accounted for.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Sorry, I do not intend to anymore further the discussion with regards to the report, but I would like also to be clarified because it was mentioned with regards to the books that were supposed to be purchased by the PCL. Will the board know what particular books this will be and
Actually,
as the breakdown as well?
it will be you being the regional chairperson and chairman. We will tackle that in the EXICOM because after this board meeting, we have a series of EXICOM to implement our preparation for the ninth National Congress. Yes, Myra.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, can it be possible that for every board meeting we have, financial statements of be included in the paper?
Yes.
Yeah,
Noted.
of
Yeah.
LA, of co-op, and of everything
Okay.
else.
Thank you.
PCL.
After this special board meeting, maybe we will request a committee of 5 to finally resolve the appeal of the protest of the case of Carr, so that we will be able to resolve this once and for all. So before we adjourn, you being your national chairman, I would like to thank everybody for coming over even though hectic ang schedule natin. Thank you for our unity and your cooperation that we will able to make our stay in the PCL for the last 3 years a very fruitful one, even though there is sort of a dynamics, but that is a good indication that we have democracy, we have freedom within the PCL, and everybody is participating, and I think whatever we have achieved, it is because of our unity and cooperation. We can consider that these PCL gains, the PCL banner year, is very good to us, considering that during our term, with the first win I have with Interim National President Ronald and our President Alma, we have able to purchase vehicles, the Grandia, the Innova, and the Ivan. We have almost 80% renovated our hostel because the master plan of the area, the Comparison Coastal Road will become a secondary road. And thank you for the Legislative Academy for manifesting that they will be using the hostel as the training center in order that our subsidy to the PCL hostel will be reduced. When we assume office, we are giving 100,000 a month to the PCL hostel, but now we are giving only 200,000 per quarter, meaning it is reduced to the 100,000 to 300,000 per quarter before, and we are envisioning that in the years to come, it will be reduced and it will become self-liquidating. And also, we are happy for those